Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett. So, the interesting fact of the day to start the show is that now there's been at least 11 All Stars, um, or well, either like current All Stars or former All Stars. That have been injured during this NBA playoffs. As we know, Trae Young did not play last night due to his bone bruise in the foot area, and then Giannis got hurt in the third quarter. Um, but instead of talking about basketball right now, I'm going to actually talk about some college football for a little bit. So this is the time of year where it's all about, lists and rankings, like top 10 quarterbacks or top 10 coaches or whatever. Recently, Sporting News came out and ranked in order all 130 college football coaches. Now, most of the rookie head coaches are not even in the top 100, which is fine for now, because they got to prove themselves. Um, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some things that I kind of agree with, but for the most part, go over a lot of things that are questionable and things I disagree with. In the list, they were ranked, into different sections. I think there's about like 5 or 6 sections, so like 1 to 25, 26 to 50, and so forth. So I'm going to go over my takeaways for each section. So, real quickly, from 100 to 130th. Surprisingly, they had a new head coach. Andy Avalos for Boise State. He was Oregon's defensive coordinator last year. He's the new head coach there, and they had him at 112th. But again, this is his first time being a head coach. So as of right now, it makes sense he's on there, but don't expect him to be on that list next season. 71 through 100. I know this. I know this list not only includes what's happened throughout the past, but also for projections until at least next season. And I think Baylor, like I said in my other podcast, I feel like they will be an improved team. But in one season of Dave Aranda's career, he's 2-7. So, like with that standard, I know it's a Power 5 team, but at that point, you might as well be in the bottom 100. I'm surprised you're even, close to being 70th at this point. Like, that's just kind of crazy for me to think about. And then what's also interesting is you got a quality group of 5 coach in Brent Bennon. Keep his name in mind. He was the head coach for San Jose State. When you think San Jose football, you think who cares? They usually suck. Every year they usually suck. Even last year, I think they may have 3 wins. They usually suck. But then all of a sudden, this past year during COVID, they win the Mountain West. And that's a Boise State. They win the Mountain West. You couldn't make tops. You couldn't even make a higher than average because 65 is halfway point. So 65 is average. You couldn't make a little bit above average. Really? That's kind of. I mean, you may be thinking, oh, that's just a 1 year wonder, but I mean, he's going to be returning most of them on the roster. Well, I don't think they're going to win Mount West again this time because I think that's for Boise State or even Nevada or something. I feel like they're going to be a top 3-4 team in the conference. Like, so that's kind of caught me off guard there. Now, a name to keep in mind is Jay Norvell, the head coach from Nevada, because I feel like Nevada this year they're usually like a solid program. They're not like San Jose State where they usually just flat out suck. I feel like this is the year where they could take a leap, especially since they have a quarterback who's projected to go in the first or second round next year and have that maybe that surprise quarterback like a Zach Wilson from last year, to where Nevada can go to the Mountain West title game this year potentially, if not win it. So watch out for him. He might be a riser next year. 51 through 71. One coach to watch who might ascend for this group is Billy Napier from Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. Remember, Louisiana upset Iowa State, a top 10 team last year, and went 12-1. Only loss it was close still. It was like a field goal type, a very close game, And close to was a top 50 team. And the Sun Belt title game was canceled, so there was a chance to avenge that loss, potentially be even higher ranked team. Louisiana's schedule is actually favorable, and they do play Texas at Texas, and I think like that might be a loss. But the other 3 non-conference games are all G5, and they're all very winnable. And then you have the Sun Belt, So and if you could beat Coastal Carolina this time around, then you could potentially go 12-1, or even if it's 11-2. Like if that happens again, watch for him to go not only climb up the rankings, but also be considered for other big time program coaching jobs. 26 through 50. You know who's a beneficiary of last season? BYU coach Klein Sataki. He jumped 40 spots from 86 to 46. Now, is this a overreaction? Maybe, maybe not. I'm fine with the jump for now. If he goes back to a mediocre, 7.685 season, then yeah, moving back down. But if he can replicate at least the somewhat success he had last year, because it won't be the exact same because of the schedule and the players lost. But if he can replicate it to a degree, then he deserves a rank if not higher. Also, another beneficiary is the coach of the year last year and Coastal Carolina coach Jamie Chadwell. I mean, he goes from 112 in last year's rankings to the top 40. It's pretty impressive. And then also watch out for Hugh Freeze. I mean, we thought he was a pretty good coach at Ole Miss, but then because he was out of the spotlight for a while, not coaching, then at Liberty, we kind of forgot about him. But then Liberty, goes 11-1 last year, and now he's back in the top 50 as coaches. So, and I think Liberty will once again be a very good team, like maybe a one-loss type of team again this year. So watch out for them. There's some things I don't like for example, Neil Brown at West Virginia. I think in his first 2 seasons he has a 12-10 overall record. I mean, that does not scream top 50 to me. Also, Scott Frost. Now, he was a great coach at UCF, but ever since he's been in Nebraska, what has he done to still be considered a top 50 coach at this point? He's done jack squat. That's what he's done. He's one of those coaches that proves he's a good G5 coach, but not a good Power 5 coach, which is crazy because he's at Nebraska, which is a historical program. It's not like he's taking over, a Kansas or something where even though it's a Power 5 program, it's hard to win there. It's like, no, Nebraska should be easy to win, and he's making it hard for himself. So I don't think he's a top 50 coach anymore. And then you go from, let's go from 11 to 25, so 25 below. Here's my first beef with this, and there's a lot of beefs here. Mark Stoops is on here at 23rd. He had that one good year where Kentucky came with like 94-10-3, I forgot, something like that, a couple years ago. And for that program, that's good and all. But he is a career mediocre head coach. His overall record is a 49-50 record, so below 500 by game. How is he considered a top 25 head coach? Now, are you thinking Kentucky's, going to be the second team behind Georgia next year or something in the SEC East? Because that's the only thing you have to be thinking about if you're going to put him that high. Because that is just pathetic. He is not a top 25 coach. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to throw shade on him, but he's not. He's not there. He can't be above Clay Helton, who has been to 2 Pac-12 title games, or David Shaw, who has been to Pac-12 title games and won a Pac-12 championship. He's above them. That is pathetic. Now, moving on, Gary Patterson's 22nd. Okay, back a long time ago, he was in Mountain West, and even at the beginning of Big 12. Yeah, he was good and all that. But since that magical year with TCU finished ranked 5th, and they were just barely left out of the playoff back in 2014 when it first started. Since then, he has done jack squat. He has not had any 10-win seasons or anything like that. And it's been a bunch of 8-5, 7-6, type of records. So Gary Patterson is a good coach, but I mean he's not top 25 anymore. If you're gonna be realistic. Now, are they thinking TCU is going to be like the 3rd best team in the Big 12 next year, or 4th best team in the Big 12 next year? Even if they are, I still feel like it's not good enough to make him back to top 25 coach. I feel like he should be left off the list. Okay, here's another beef. Jim Harbaugh, he's an okay coach, good head coach, but not a great one. He is above Mario Cristobal, who actually won multiple Pac-12 championships. And he is above Paul Chryst, Wisconsin head coach within his own conference, who Wisconsin has beat Jim Harbaugh head-to-head multiple times, including last year. Last year was an embarrassment. And at least Wisconsin, even they're in the different divisions, so it makes it easier, but Wisconsin has been to the Big Ten title game a couple times, and they have better records than Jim Harbaugh has. It's like, really? Jim Harbaugh's a good head coach. But when you think of people, but when you see the names that are after him, you're just left scratching your head here. And this is the reason why a lot of people who come with these top coaching rankings are fools. Yeah, I know it's not necessarily easy to do it because there's a lot of things you got to factor in, but you got to be smart here. Like, for example, you cannot have Mark Stoops over David Shaw. You just cannot do that. Oh, and then there's more, Ed Orgeron's 14th. Well, yeah, besides that championship year, yeah, he's been kind of, So that part makes understandable. But you have Luke Fickell ahead of him. Now, I'm not knocking Luke Fickell. He did it. He's done a great job at building Cincinnati up because that was a bad program. Now he's built him to a good program again. He's done a very good job. But Ed Orgeron has won a championship. And it's not like it was a championship a long time ago to where all the times to change. He won it very recently. Now he had one of the best teams ever to do it, so that makes it easy. But still, he won a championship. I'm sorry. I'm not putting Luke Fickell or Pat Fitzgerald, who's a really good coach, but I'm not putting them over Ed Orgeron, who's at least won a championship. They are top 25 worthy, coach, don't get me wrong, but they're not top 15 quality. Now from 1 to 10. There's actually not a lot of disagreements here. I would personally have Jimbo Fisher over Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. Why? Jimbo Fisher has won a championship. Brian Kelly has not. And Brian Kelly has frankly never come close because in the one championship game that he played in, blown out Alabama. And then the 2 playoff appearances he's been in, blow out Clemson, blow out Alabama. So it's all been blowouts, hasn't been even really close. While Jimbo Fisher, has been in the playoffs once, and then has also, won a championship. And he has a better overall record. And also, when you think about it, now, no, Brian Kelly Notre Dame's a hard job, even though it's a big brand, it's a hard job, than Florida State and A&M. But the fact that Jimbo Fisher has proven he can do it at multiple big-time places, that gives him the edge there as well. And then they have Lincoln Riley 3. I'm actually okay with that just because I feel like Oklahoma's at the very least should go to the title game this year. I think they're going to be that good, and they could somehow win a title, and therefore he'll be above Jimbo Fisher for sure. But again, if you want Jimbo Fisher ahead because of the championship title over Lincoln Riley, who hasn't gone to a championship game yet, that's fine with me. And then of course they have Nick Saban 1, Dallas winning 2. There's no debates there. And then other notes, they had Brian Day 6. He should continue to progress higher. Kirby Smart 7, same thing. Dan Mole 8. Matt Campbell 9, a little high for me, but I'm fine with it for right now. Mac Brown 10. James Franklin 11. That makes sense stuff. So again, there's some good things about the list. I'm not going to complete the whole list, but for the most part, there are a lot of things that are questionable about this list. So that's why I wanted to talk about there. Now, real quick, before I go, I wanted to catch you up on the NBA playoffs real quick. So I know the Clippers won Game 5. So for the people who were saying, who are on the Clippers bandwagon, they're going to win it. You remember I said back on Monday, the Suns, should win the series. Now they're up 3-1. Well, think about it. The Clippers had no pressure on them to close down Game 5, and the Suns had all the pressure on them to kind of keep it. Because, Clippers, without Kawhi, especially without Zubac that game, no pressure. And the Clippers are best when they're at no pressure. So now in Game 6, there's going to be a little pressure at home, which you already lost Game 4 at home, to defend that home court so you can force Game 7 and see what happens. So now since the pressure's on tonight, I feel like the Suns won't win this game because they've been performing bad at LA, but I think they still will win Game 7 just because the pressure is going to start to be at least equal to, if not more, back on the Clippers. Whether it's this game or Game 7 goes there. And now for the Bucks and Hawks. Now this series is going to be hard to predict from now on because if Giannis has to miss a few games, that changes everything. And then obviously Trae Young missed one game already. But if I had to guess, I would probably say that if Giannis misses the rest of the series, I would say the Hawks actually go to the finals, surprisingly. I changed my pick there. But if Giannis is able to come back for like a Game 6 or something, and if it goes Game 7, then I'll still take the Bucks, whether he's 100% or not. And frankly, whether Trae Young's 100% or not, just because what I saw from the role players, on last night versus the Bucks, squad back when Giannis was healthy during the first half, that was pretty impressive, Now, I don't think they can replicate every single game, especially since 2 games are in Milwaukee, so that's why I think it goes 7 now, but still, I like what I saw from there. So that should be an interesting series to see how that plays out. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and tell everyone about me. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.